Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh, dude. Let's do that. Oh.
Good afternoon and welcome to Old Breed Outdoors. My name is Chris, and today we're going to talk about basic fundamentals of shooting. This is more designed for a new shooter, but maybe it's a refresher if you haven't picked up a bow in a while and you want to pick it back up and go hunt this season. So appreciate you watching. If you are just now getting a bow or thinking about getting a bow, go back to our other video. I talk about equipment and how to get a good setup and what you really need to get that going. Like I said, today we're going to talk about fundamentals, just basic shooting, whether you're in the backyard or you're getting ready to go hunting. First thing I want to talk about is your feet placement. So you want to be square to the target. All right, square your body up, stand straight up, don't slouch, don't do anything crazy, you just stand straight up and down, natural, relaxed. Target's downrange to my left because I'm right-handed. Obviously this would be turned around backwards if I was left-handed. So you want your feet about shoulder width apart, and you can do a slightly open stance where you take your left leg or your lead leg and you kind of pull it back towards yourself, and you're actually opening yourself up and blading yourself towards the target. All right, or you can just stay straight and have them parallel or to each other, and you're straight up squared up. So I suggest you practice different stances to find what you feel is more comfortable for you. And then if you're in a hunting situation because you plan on hunting, you don't know what kind of terrain you're going to be on, so you don't always get that perfect stance that you like. So practicing different ways will help you be more successful. So a big thing with archery is consistency. Consistency. You want to do the same thing every single time. All right, and that becomes important in the type of gear you choose, as well as how you shoot. So like I said, you want to do it the same way every time. So after you got your feet set, come up, body still straight up and down. I'm not leaning, I'm not doing anything crazy with my back, I'm not arching it, I'm just straight up and down, nice and relaxed. My bow, right? I got my bow hand. So next thing we're going to talk about is the grip. So your grip on how you hold the bow. Now for me, when it comes to the grips, I like to shoot off what's called straight off the riser. So I take the grips off the bow and shoot off the riser itself. Actually, I was watching a video from Go Hunt, and he gave me a good idea. Something I might try to do is he took tennis racket tape and wrapped it with tennis racket tape to give himself something a little bit of cushion, but also so he can hit his hand in the same place every time. Another thing I used to do was I would take sandpaper on double-sided sticky tape, and I'd put sandpaper right here on the riser. That way my hand hit there, and if it's, I'm shooting in Georgia right now in June. It's 85 degrees today and I'm sweating. So my hand can slip off that bow and cause a lot of inaccuracy. And nobody wants to be inaccurate because then it's not fun. And you want to make archery shooting fun. So I become inaccurate with sweaty hands. That sandpaper will allow my hand to stick in the place every time, the same place every time. Like I said, it's key on doing everything the same. So where you want the actual bow in relation to your hand is right there in that V. So I'm gonna make a V with my hand, and I want that bow to sit right down that crease, not on the meaty portion of my thumb, because if I tweak it and torque it, it's gonna roll in that meaty portion. I want the gap that's right there in my hand, nice natural position. I also try to take it and rotate my knuckles up the best I can, and a loose grip. You don't want to be too tight because you're going to torque on the bow with your hand. All right, that's why a lot of people will shoot with a sling, a finger sling like this, where it comes around the riser and it connects to my thumb and my index finger. That way it's nice and relaxed, and when I get a good follow through, I don't have to worry about the bow hitting the ground. I'm going to catch it with my sling in my hand. Or you can use the rope style sling that comes up around your wrist. Either way, but you want a nice relaxed grip, very light pressure on the front of the bow itself with your fingers. Allows you not to torque on the bow as much as you can with your forward hand. So when I put the release on, right, I got the release, I got my strap. In my last video, I talked about you want a buckle style release. I'm a big fan of the buckle style release because I know it's going to be set in the exact same position every time on my wrist. And once again, consistency is a key. When drawing your bow, right, you got your grip, I got my feet set, right? I got my grip, and you're drawing your bow, right? You want to try to minimize the movement as much as possible, because movement, big arcing movement like that, is going to scare the animal that you're trying to shoot. All right, if you're doing the big arcs and drawing or coming up and drawing up crazy like that, your poundage is set too heavy. All right, check your ego, go and lower your poundage and slowly work up to that. You'll be fine. All right, you don't have to have the max weight on the bow just to kill an animal. Less poundage can kill an animal just as easy. So you don't have to be shooting the heaviest bow out there, because you want a nice smooth draw back motion. All right, so when I'm pushing, I'm actually pushing with my forward hand and pulling with my drawing my right arm at the same time, so it's a nice straight on the target motion. All right, once again, I'm pushing out and pulling at the same time and getting set. Now my arm, my left arm, I want to slight bend it. I don't want to be straightened out, because that string is going to smack my elbow and it's going to hurt. All right, and that's also, you don't want to be stiff. All right, you want a nice relaxed, roll your shoulders back, nice and relaxed stance, and I can sit here for a good few minutes, you know, in case I'm waiting on that deer to step out. All right, I can sit here because I'm nice and relaxed. I got a nice bend in my elbow, and I'm not twerking on it, and I'm not muscling the bow at all. After you got it drawn back, you want to make sure you have a solid anchor point. And this is probably the #1 mistake that I see a lot of people have, is they don't have the correct draw length for their bow. And you can see that in their anchor spots. Once again, you want to anchor in the same exact spot every time. What I like to do is I take my thumb knuckle and I put it right behind my jaw, so that way I'm locked in the same position every time. I know some people that'll take the thumb and put it behind their head. You got to find what's ever comfortable for you. Now, if you're just beginning, one suggestion I make is the more reference points you have, the more consistent you're going to be. So for me, the first reference point I have is behind my jaw. The next reference point you'll see is the string on my nose. Sometimes what some people do too is what they put on what's called a kisser button. And they'll put a little button right here above your knock placement to put in the corner of the mouth. So now I have 3 distinct points that I'm going to come to every single time, so I know that I'm coming and making the same shot every single time. So like I said, come up, I draw, and I come in and anchor. I got the string on the tip of my nose, I got my thumb locked right behind my jaw, and I'm aiming. When aiming, you're looking through the rear peep sight here, and you want to make sure you have the entire sight housing centered on your peep. And then when you're looking, depending on what pin you're aiming with, because of the yardage that you're going to be shooting, you want to be focused in on the pin. So you should have a solid pin, blurry target in the back. Focus on the aiming point, not the target. If you focus on the target and you have a blurry pin and a clear target, you're gonna not be as accurate. You want to have a clear sight picture, all right? Fuzzy target in the background. One other key aspect that I'm looking at is my bubble down here. All right, I want to make sure my bubble is level. All right, if you don't have a bubble in your sight, I suggest that you try to find one that you can super glue on there or do something, but a bubble helps a lot, especially if you're going to be hunting in an area with uneven terrain. If I'm hunting on a big mountainside and I'm taking a side hill shot, naturally I'm going to want to lean up against the hill, and then my bow I'm going to think is level, but it's actually not. So that's where having a level helps, and making sure that that bubble is centered as best as possible right before you take that shot on that animal. All right, so now that I have my stance straight, I'm standing straight up and down. I got my grip exactly how I want it. I do a nice, easy pull, straight pull back. I find my anchor points. I sight in, I'm looking in, I got a clear pin, I got a fuzzy target, my bubble's straight. Now I'm ready to execute that shot. When you're executing the shot, you want to take your finger and just slowly wrap it lightly around the trigger. And then what you're trying to do is, you can do it a couple different ways, but you don't want to punch the trigger. It's just like shooting. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Just like shooting a rifle. You're going to twerk it and you're going to throw it off either left or right every time. You want a nice, slow, steady pull of the trigger and what they call back tension. So what I'm actually trying to do is take in between my shoulder blades, I pretend like I have an orange back there, that I'm crushing that orange, and I'm pulling my shoulders back. As I'm doing that, I'm pulling my elbow, because I have a nice high elbow. I'm pulling my elbow back, squeezing, and it just naturally pulls my fingers tight, and the shot will go off. It should be a surprise to you. Making a well executed shot should be a surprise to you. All right, it should look something like this. All right, and honestly, that's just the basic fundamentals. So if you're in the backyard plinking some arrows and just having fun with the family, or you're just going to your local archery shop and you're shooting just as a pastime and a recreational thing, that's the basic fundamentals to shooting, and you'll see your accuracy improve, and you'll enjoy it a lot more because of that accuracy improving and everything that you do. So the next thing I want to talk about is if you're in that hunting situation, right? So once again, we do not know every situation out there. There's always going to be some craziness, and we're at the mercy of the animal and what they're doing and location and time and everything like that. So practicing. We owe it to that animal to practice and make ourselves the best that we can for that animal's sake. When you shoot an animal, you should be confident that you can kill that animal in the most humane way and the fastest, giving it the fastest death it can possibly have. All right. I know a lot of guys out there that, you know, and if you're that guy, I guess I'm gonna offend you, but they think if they can hit a pie plate at whatever distance that they're good. Well, a pie plate's 12 inches. On a deer, you know, 12-inch circle, if you're outside of that just barely, you're not going to get a kill shot. All right, and that animal's going to suffer, and it might take hours to expire. And I understand. I've been archery hunting for over 20 years now. I understand that stuff's going to happen. If you archery hunt long enough, you're going to lose animals. I lost an animal last year. I lost a pig. I made a pass-through shot with an arrow, had blood going and everything, and I just could not recover the animal. It's gonna happen if you archery hunt long enough. If guys out there saying they have never lost an animal, well, good on you, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. With that, you want to make sure you're practicing for every situation you think you're gonna be in. If you're a tree stand hunter, all right, get your climber. If you're in a climber, get in your climber. Go in your backyard if you have that ability to, or go to an area. Get up in that tree and practice shooting out of your tree stand. I made this mistake a couple years ago. I had never practiced out of my tree stand, and when I got up in the tree and I had a deer walk out, I drew back and my elbow was hitting the tree behind me, and I was just uncomfortable, and I ended up missing the deer because of it, I think, because I just wasn't comfortable in my shot placement. If you think you're gonna be hunting in a stool, all right, and I don't have a stool, I got my makeshift stool here, my Lowe's bucket, which works perfectly fine in a blind, all right, but if you think you're gonna be hunting in a blind or on a stool, practice, all right, because standing up and shooting is a lot different than sitting down and shooting. Now you got your knees to worry about. Okay, do I hold my knees close together? Do I turn myself and blade way out? You know, drawing, shooting in that blind. Maybe you need to the windows to be different. All right, so you can actually shoot while sitting down. Okay. For me, and I didn't bring it, and I'm at my friend's house, but I normally shoot with my bino harness that I wear. I wear a harness that holds my binos right here, my rangefinder right here in my pocket, and I actually will, even though I know the distance, I will practice pulling out my rangefinder, clicking a range with my bow in my arm, and putting that away to get the shot. Timing wise, how much movement am I making? I'm practicing all of that stuff. Practice. This year, I'm heading out to Oregon. Me and Garrett are heading out to Oregon, and we're gonna be backpacking in either on day hunts or on overnight bivvy style hunts where we're gonna be moving and camping in the woods. Well, I might not always have the opportunity to take my pack off. So I'm gonna be practicing with my pack on, making sure I'm comfortable. Maybe I need to adjust something. Maybe I need to adjust something with my stance, or just get used to having that weight on my back now. All right, even though it's only 30 pounds, having that weight on my back might pull me back, and I'm a little bit more uncomfortable. This especially goes if I'm in some hilly terrain or mountainous terrain, and I'm not gonna have a clear footing on level ground. So I'm gonna practice with my pack on. If you wear glasses, all right, shooting with glasses on can be kind of difficult. All right, you want to make sure you're looking through the center of your glasses. If you're going to be wearing sunglasses, practice with that. All those little tiny things you may not think make a difference, they actually do. All right, and the best thing you can do is just, like I said, practice. We owe it to that animal to give it our best effort to giving them the most humane death they can have, and the quickest. And we also don't want to be tracking an animal far. We want to make sure it dies right there so we can get a quick recovery on it and get it on out to the freezer and preserve the meat as best we can for our families. All right, thank you for watching. I hope you learned a little something on just basic fundamentals, whether you're just beginning in archery or you haven't shot your bow in a while and you just want a little bit of refresher training. I appreciate watching the video. We'll have some more coming out here pretty soon as hunting season gets going. Click that subscribe button and see how successful we are this year, and I hope you're successful in your upcoming hunting season. Thank you.